The importance of freeing your mind of fear cannot be overemphasized. Fear something over a long period of time, and there is a real possibility that by fearing you may actually help bring it to pass. The Bible contains a line which is one of the most terrible statements ever made, terrible in its truth. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, from Job. Of course it will, for if you fear something continuously, you tend to create conditions in your mind propitious to the development of that which you fear. An atmosphere is encouraged in which it can take root and grow. You tend to draw it to yourself. But do not be alarmed. The Bible also constantly reiterates another great truth. That which I have greatly believed has come upon me. It does not make that statement in so many words, and yet again and again and still again, the Bible tells us that if you have faith, nothing is impossible unto us. And according to your faith, be it done unto you. So if you shift your mind from fear to faith, you will stop creating the object of your fear and will instead actualize the object of your faith. Surround your mind with healthy thoughts, thoughts of faith and not fear, and you will produce faith results instead of fear results. Strategy must be used in the campaign against the worry habit. A frontal attack on the main body of worry with the expectation of conquering it may prove difficult. Perhaps a more adroit plan is to conquer the outer fortification one by one, gradually closing in on the main position. To change the figure, it might be well to snip off the little worries on the furthest branches of your fear, then work back and finally destroy the main trunk of worry. At my firm, it was necessary to take down a large tree, much to my regret. Cutting down a great old tree is a fraught with sadness. Men came with a motor-driven saw, and I expected them to start by cutting through the main trunk near the ground. Instead, they put up ladders and began snipping off the small branches, then the larger ones, and finally the top of the tree. Then all that remained was the huge central trunk, and in a few moments my tree lay neatly stacked as though it had not spent 50 years in growing. If we had cut the tree at the ground before trimming off the branches, it would have broken nearby trees in felling. It is easier to handle a tree the smaller you can make it, so explained the tree man. The vast tree of worry, which over long years has grown up in your personality, can best be handled by making it as small as possible. Thus, it is advisable to snip off the little worries and expressions of worry. For example, reduce the number of worry words in your conversation. Words may be the result of worry, but they also create worry. When a worry thought comes to mind, immediately remove it with a faith thought and expression. For example, I am worried that I will miss the train. Then start early enough to be sure you get there on time. The less worrying you do, the more likely you are to start promptly. For the uncluttered mind is systematic and is able to regulate time. As you snip off these small worries, you will gradually cut back to the main trunk of worry. Then with your developed greater power, you will be able to eliminate basic worry, that is, the worry habit, from your life. My friend Dr. Daniel A. Pauling gives a valuable suggestion. He says that every morning before he arises, he repeats these two words, I believe, 3 times. Thus, at the day's beginning, he conditions his mind to faith, and it never leaves him. His mind accepts the conviction that by faith he is going to overcome his problems and difficulties during the day. He starts the day with creative positive thoughts in his mind. He believes, and it is very difficult to hold back the man who believes. I related Dr. Pauling's I believe technique in a radio talk, and had a letter from a woman who told me that she had not been very faithful to her religion, which happened to be the Jewish faith. She said their home was filled with contention, bickering, worry, and unhappiness. Her husband, she declared, drank far too much for his own good, and sat around all day doing no work. He weakly complained that he couldn't find a job. This woman's mother-in-law lived with her, and the latter whined and complained of her aches and pains all the while. This woman said that Dr. Pulling's method impressed her and she decided to try it herself. So the next morning, upon awakening, she affirmed, I believe, I believe, I believe. In her letter, she excitedly reported, it has been only 10 days since I started this plan, and my husband came home last night and told me he had a job paying $80 a week. And he almost says that he is going to quit drinking. I believe he means it. What is even more wonderful, my mother-in-law has practically stopped complaining of her aches and pains. It is almost as if a miracle has happened in this house. My worries seem to have just about disappeared. That does indeed seem almost magical, and yet that miracle happens every day to people who shift over from negative fear thoughts to positive faith thoughts and attitudes.